Everyone. Thank you for joining us in the International Dev Career Day. My name is Julio. I'll be speaking about Caravana Cloud and recruitment and selection and a few tips that we've been gathering to help developers be successful. Welcome to my room. I will share my screen and get started right away. So let's try to do this. And now you should be able to see my screen. I hope that my voice and my video is coming through well. Please let me know in the chat if anything doesn't work out for you. Also, if you have any question or comment or anything that you'd like to discuss, this is an interactive session, interactive live. This is meant to help you be successful. So please take the time to share what's the next step for you, what you see in your career, and how can we help. So to begin with, let me say that Caravana Cloud is a collective to help developers be successful. And we have very expert mentors in software engineering, but not only that, we also care a lot for your personal health and well-being, for your support with organization of personal resources, your schedule, and whatever you need to be successful as a developer. And in helping people with their career, we found some tips that we share in this presentation. And thank you, Lucas. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that everything works out. We did a few lives before today, so we already did a good sound check. That's great to hear. So let's jump started into the content right away. So first things first, we started Caravana Cloud to build new values in technology. We really believe that humility and inclusion is more important than ego and elitism and creating superstars. We really want to encourage developers to help each other, to support and cooperate and mentor instead of trying to outsmart each other, if that makes sense. And these ideas are not mine. They are from April and compassionatecoding.com. I really recommend to check that out. And the way we often practice that, the way we most often help developers be successful is through the job process, changing careers, usually due to stress or to abuse or to the pandemic. For multiple reasons, we have been helping a lot of people change direction in their careers. And the process of getting to a new offer is a bit similar, whichever is the tech career. And we've been observing some patterns and we'd like to discuss some insights. So the first thing I'd like to say is that we should separate the recruitment process from the selection process. So if you're looking at a major company, such as the FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Apple, and so on, very often the recruitment is done by different people than your future team, sometimes even from a different company, such as a recruitment agency or something like that. Thank you, Ronaldo. Thanks for joining us here today. I hope these tips are useful for you too. So when we separate this, we can have better expectations and understand how the process goes. So let's start with the recruitment strategies. So when we talk about recruitment, we are usually saying the networking, the phone calls, the getting in touch with recruiters and connecting with opportunities. I'm going to discuss a few different strategies for handling this, but I think three things should be present in all of them. So first, make sure this is quality time. So this is just not chit chat. You really want to find out more about the company. The more precise you can be about the information that's relevant for you, location, job, salary, expectations, benefits, technology stack, whatever that matters for you. Make sure you speak about that so that the time is mutually constructive. And in this part, the thing that helps me the most is my time, my rules. So I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this kind of process in general, and that's the situation for a lot of people. So I have some reserved time, a couple hours in my week where I schedule these calls, and sometimes I have many more contacts, much more contacts than I would be available to answer. So I make sure I follow up with them on chatting and social media and make the best of the time that I have set aside for this kind of calls. Another thing is to look out for other languages. And I know as we are all speaking English in an English event, you're probably very used to speaking English. But I'm now working in a Spanish company. I have seen Spanish growing in IT as a language. Speaking other languages in general, I think is very beneficial, especially looking for international opportunities. So myself, I use Duolingo and Italki a lot to practice, and I highly recommend these language tools because that's very much part of finding new opportunities. So now diving a bit deeper into the opportunities themselves, the strategy. I believe that most people play recruitment as a tight aggressive strategy, meaning we have already a job or a situation that is comfortable, I hope, and but we are looking for something better. So if something comes up, we want to be able to invest and do our best in the interview process. But we really want to fold very quickly if it doesn't match. And the key here is to know what you want. So if you know what you want, in the more specific you can be, the better. So the salary range, the benefits, the technical stack, the life, your balance with personal activities and things like this. Everything that you can put as what you want helps, because it helps you to very quickly fold and say, hey, this is not the kind of opportunity, the kind of role that I'm looking for, and dedicate yourselves to the things that matter and go all in when the time comes. But this is a good strategy for those of you who are in a comfortable position. Some are limited by time, by money, or are currently unemployed or something like that. So the question then becomes, how much time do I have? How many resources do I have? So let's suppose you have 6 months of money left in your bank account since you left your job, or at least the money you have reserved to look for another job if you can. And there is always a balance between how much time you spend searching for the best opportunity and how much time you spend committing to the opportunity. So you don't want to commit to the first opportunity that knocks on your door, and you also don't want to wait until too late to make a decision. So this book, Algorithms to Live By, is very useful in this optimal stopping algorithm. And this general 37% rule of thumb that says that around 37% is the tipping point in this balance. So of course that it depends on the situation, but if you have those 6 months, perhaps it makes sense to investigate your options for around 2 or 3 months to then actually start committing to opportunities. And another alternative that comes often is speculative applications. And this is a bit delicate because I'm saying like taking that shot for the stars, like picture you want to be CTO, you want to be a director, a manager, a lead engineer, and what would make you the happiest? So trying to shoot for that and only that. So this is for those who are extremely comfortable in their position and would only change for something that's actually very high. And this, it's okay. I don't think there is anything bad in shooting for the stars and trying to get a job that is a bit out of your league, let's say. But the problem is just not going too far because you don't want to receive this kind of letter. I hope this is a joke, but to receive, you have to keep in mind that your application will have costs to the company and the time of other people that you should respect. So I'm not saying that you go lunatic and go to something that's not realistic, but there's no problem in trying to make the best job possible. And to do this, then social media is very important. I use LinkedIn very heavily, so it helps me a lot to connect, even by the phone. They have Bluetooth search in the app, and I connect with a lot of recruiters all around the world, sharing opportunities and things like this. And this certainly helps me a lot to improve, because if you publish something every week or so, or even if it's just a reshare or a comment, you keep engaged with the platform, it tends to show you and put you up front in search, which is a very valuable benefit. And not only LinkedIn, of course, we have specific social networks for developers. My current job, I got a contact from Stack Overflow Careers, and I see a lot of good opportunities there, sometimes with better information about things that matters to technical people. And I again, just going there and answering a few questions every now and then can put you a long way into recruiting. Just this is very simple. I don't want to say that you should spend a lot of time and break your head, but if you just keep polishing every now and then, making your profile a lot better, a bit better, it will go a long way in the end. Just you don't, because when you try to do something very radical at once, you usually get to this kind of examples that I put here just for a bit of humor. I hope you don't mind. So this person puts in their summary that I must be an addict because I shoot up on wings every day. Or I really like this one. There is only one boss, and his name is Mr. Customer. Don't do this kind of thing. Be personal, be honest, talk about yourself. It's a much better impression. And also mind your pictures, right? This is probably not the kind of picture that's aligned with your professional interests, I'd say. So how to present yourself effectively? Then, as I said, be concise and coherent in your personal texts, write something that's personal. If you have a company role and team in mind, the more specific you can be to the value you add to that specific position, it's certainly more valuable to everyone that looks at your profile. And a very important part is when you detail your expertise, make sure that the biography is coherent with the background and past experience. So what I mean is, if you say that you have 10 years of experience in a given field and you only put one or two items in past jobs, something is going to be weird, right? And if you only put the technologies you work and not the benefits you accomplished, this may not be resonating a lot. So there is a technique we use to do to tell this kind of stories that is called the STAR technique. I will tell, and it helps a lot during the interviews. And yeah, Ronaldo is sharing that sometimes he thinks that Stack Overflow is saturated. Every question I had thought to ask is already asked. And yeah, it's true. It's hard. What I do is create a habit of it. I do it like email. I take a look at it, and if I see something that I can answer, I do. If not, I just try again later. It's not something that, again, you should force yourself to do, but if you find something that you can help, it's certainly a great idea. And even creating the habit of posting your questions, because you can post your question and you can even answer your own question if you follow the guidelines. So that's something that I did a few times and it helps. About the STAR technique, it's about telling stories in a way that's productive and in an interview, and you don't go around and back and forth telling the interviewer how things worked and then they stopped working and you made them work again, and the story usually goes around and around without too much direction. So we recommend that both in your stories, in your CV and profile, and when telling things to the interviewer, try to frame your story in this situation, task, action, result. What was the situation, the context that you were in? What was the task that you assumed? What was the action that you decided upon? And the ending result. So, for example, if I'm talking about Amazon and I'm applying for Amazon, they have a list of 14 leadership principles. And the first one is customer obsession. So if you're on an interview for Amazon, it's very likely that one of the interviewers is going to say, hey, tell me a situation in your career that you demonstrated to have customer obsession. And you can, if you frame the thing into this, let me give this example. So once I was a solution architect at a major software house, and I was given the task to define an architecture with a customer, and it ended up taking too long. And we were divided between pushing the sale and making a better margin for the quarter, or taking the customer side and evaluating things for longer. And I took the action to invest on the customer, spend more time and dedicate more efforts to define a better project. And as a result, we delayed our quarterly benefits for the sales, but the customer ended up having a better experience, purchasing more after a while, and developing a better relationship with the provider. So that's very positive. But regardless of the story, you can see that it's framed in a way that it's very easy to tell and understand. And when you talk with recruiters, it's very important to understand that they want the same as you. They want to fulfill the role. They want you to do your best, but they also have to select. So the more you think yourselves as partners, the better. And you have to understand that you are the technical person, and sometimes it's not up to them or up to this phase of the process to define the technical details, because this is usually done later in the selection process. As I said, sometimes it's not even the same company that does recruiting and the one that does selection. So sometimes the recruiter may be a bit not sure about the technical details and many things about the insides of the company, and that's totally natural. But that doesn't mean that he can help you. On the other way, he can help you understand a lot more and make sure that you're either a great candidate or you don't, or nobody wastes any more time with this, right? So when you're into the selection process, hopefully you made it through and you're actually meeting your team and being selected for an opportunity. The first thing that usually happens is coding interviews. So it's not a question if it's related to the job or not. This is like going to the gym. It's normalized in the industry. It certainly varies in time and complexity, but you will end up doing some kind of coding as a part of the interview. And it's very important that most of those interview process are not word if you remember the algorithms, if you know them by heart, if you can calculate complexity and things like this. This is more about understanding your thought process and how you work in teams. If you can speak your mind clearly and think clearly and work together towards the solution of a specific problem. Except for very rare cases, I'd say most challenges are trivial conceptually wise. Like the goal is not to make it hard on the algorithm. Of course, that's true for some roles, but for many technical roles, the focus is understanding how you think and approach problem solution. So it's okay to ask the interviewer for help, asking the recruiter for help. And there is no other way to master this than practice. So what I do and everybody in Caravana Cloud is recommended to do, and we do this together, is practice, do your streaming or do a meeting with us, practice coding while you speak. There is HackerRank, there is Exercism, there are great sources of programming challenges around. I think that HackerRank is one of the most used, but there are plenty of others. And this is not only coding. Implementation requires understanding of other concepts. One that comes up often is the solid principles. So single responsibility, open, closed, the scope substitution, interface segregation, and dependency inversion. It doesn't, it's not useful right now to go more in depth into each of these principles, but they are used a lot in interviews. And again, it's just like the coding interviews. It's not a matter of it's true or it's not true, whether you like it or not, but became kind of a common thing in the industry. And after the coding part, the implementation part, for higher jobs, you will find also design interviews, and this is very common. It's usually focused on the functional requirements. You will be usually asked to design a part of a system or a system in terms of domain modeling, and then adapt the requirements. The interviewer will change a bit the requirements and see if you can change your design without having to redraw all the boxes and arrows around, if that makes sense, right? So the idea is to reach a model like this, where you have your entity model, your diagram, or your system design, let's say. The notation, if you can do UML, it's easier, it's standard, but any kind of boxes usually works. People are very rarely strict on notation these days. But the idea is not how to design and do the drawing, but how to think about problems in a very quick and straightforward way. So if you can have analysis patterns that make your analysis faster, you can certainly do better in those interviews. And I have selected two of those. First is object modeling in colors. So this is a bit of a technique from Peter Code in the book called Feature-Driven Development. A bit of old school, but I think that one of the best parts of that book is the UML in colors, or object modeling in colors. And the colors is not the key thing. The key thing is the archetypes. So we have these 4 types of classes. Every class in the diagram or in the system, in the model design, will be either a moment, interval, a role, a party, place, or thing, or a description. So everything that has a date will be a moment interval, such as a delivery, a travel, an order, or a transaction. And those are usually the key elements in the system. Then we have the party, places, or things which participate in this transaction, in this moment in time, but they're not usually directly attached to the moment interval. They usually participate through a role and can be classified by a description. So you can see that I described a kind of a component that is neutral to the domain. We could be talking about the same logic for sales, for cars, for aeroplanes, for human resources, any kind of system. So let's say, for example, a chat system. A chat system will have the message sending moment interval that will contain that's a thing that happens in a time. It may have a sender and a subscriber as roles of people involved in the transaction. So you can see that we can fit any kind of component, any kind of model in this component, and validate the way that these relationships happen. So a way to do this kind of modeling faster. And aside for the entity model, we usually have this system integration or system design from domain-driven design. So you can say that those entities are accessed with repositories and expressed as value objects accessed by services and things like this. And again, it's more archetypes of classes that can help you. So you already know that you're going to have a repository that's going to fetch those entities, so you can already go and put those boxes without thinking too much. So this saves a lot of time in domain modeling. After design, we go through the architecture interviews. In some companies, the architecture and the design phases are the same, but in many companies, they are separate. So they focused in the non-functional requirements. So now we're talking about security, reliability, performance, costs, and things that are not attached to the business domain, as we did in the design phase. And also check if you're current with new technologies, with the state of frameworks and libraries in your technical stack and things like this. And again, the idea is to change the requirements, to give you a change of the requirements. Say, for example, if your demand increases, what would you do? If you have a security incident, what would you do? If you have a availability incident, and so on and so forth. And the hardest part in architecture interviews is, how do you know what you don't know? Because we all know a bit about security, about performance, but what are the things that we don't know? So the folks at Amazon did a great job at the AWS Well-Architected program. They built this framework of best practices collected from the sales organization, the consultants organization, and everywhere across the company, and built this framework. And the cool thing about this is that the framework is not prescriptive. So it's not telling you what to do exactly, but what should you think about as a question. So for example, those are 3 best practices from the reliability pillar. So reliability 3, how does your system adapt to changes in demand? So if you have more users, if you have more data, how would that adapt? How do you monitor resources? How do you use logs, events? Is it Elasticsearch, CloudWatch? How do you do this? Or how do you implement change? So how do you deploy new versions? How do you mitigate risk in new deployments and things like this? So if you go through the framework, you will see dozens of questions, and it's certainly not the entirety of systems architecture, but at least you have solid groundings and your base is covered with the well-architected framework. So I recommend that a lot. Furthermore, about being up to date with the technology, a great tool is the ThoughtWorks Technologies Radar. So they classify technologies, techniques, and tools into adopt, trial, assess, or hold according to the level of maturity which they consider each of those technologies. So it's a great idea not only to understand what's going on, but what's their opinion on each of those things. And you can certainly build your own technology radar with your own opinion, but starting from their work certainly makes it much easier. And finally, we have to take care with the behavioral interviews. So this is where we are talking about the so-called soft skills, but we have to always remember there is nothing soft about soft skills. Those things are usually very hard to practice and just as important as any other skill. So make sure you practice how to tell stories in the STAR frame in a clear and timely way, that you can express empathy with users, past experiences without being negative about them. How are your communication abilities, your time management, how you work with others. So all those things are going to be expressed in the behavioral interview. So this is, again, another thing to practice, and a very important one. And if you're successful with those steps, you will be given the chance to negotiate an offer. So we are usually very excited when the offer comes, but it's important to take the time to think about it and negotiate it, because it's not only the salary, like the monthly wage, you also have vacations, immigration, or health insurance, all those benefits, bonus, entry bonus, and things like that, that you can and should negotiate. For example, if you are perhaps burned out from your past job, you may want to take some vacations. Or if you think that your monthly salary is a bit less than you expected, you can ask for a higher signing bonus and things like that. And always consider that this is something continuous in your career, and it's not going to end there. You have to keep up on the day after and handle yourself and mind your stress, your burnout, your personal life. We always talk a lot about that. Even the World Health Organization is seeing evidence that we need better well-being in the workplace worldwide. So this is very important. We see this as developers every day, that we see stress from inside, from the being working much more than we should, and even from moral abuse and situations that we see at the workplace. So myself, I consider healthy time a very important part of this. And what is good for you? I've been stressed at work for a long time, but it took me until last year to stop my life and say, what is good for me? What is success for me? What is healthy time? And for me, if I'm able to do my sports in the morning, my guitar classes at night, and my personal habits, keep good time with my family, that's what's important for me. I can define this. I have a very clear routine. I really like Clockwise. That's an app that helps you defragment your schedule and synchronize your personal schedule with your work schedule and give you a better, more focused time. And when you balance that, when you're able to build that schedule and share that with your friends or family and even your coworkers, this makes it very much easier to cooperate and respect your time. so that people knows that, hey, when you have that time, you don't want to be interrupted and things like this. And a very important thing is get help when needed, because for a long time I thought that I could analyze and help myself a lot, while I should have been asking for help for a long time. And we are here for developers, of course. That's our message today. But reach out to friends, to family, to coworkers, and make sure that you share with others what's going on inside of you. Practicing with Caravana Cloud, I'd like to share a bit more of our program. So that's the end of our insights and perspectives. I hope that was useful for everyone. Let me share a bit more of how we work and what we do, and how we can keep this conversation going forward. So we have a community for free. We have a group of professional mentorship, and we are starting to build a mentorship platform. So the community is 100% free. We suggest a €5 monthly donation, but that's donated to the causes we believe. And we are supporting the Black Lives Movement and fighting against corruption, police corruption this year. We can share more about that in our community. We also have the video archives with all the video content that we produce, preparation tools such as the STAR method cheat sheet and things like this, content and opportunities that we find out and we share with our members, and so on and so forth. All of this happens in our Discord community. So on caravana.cloud/Discord, you can get in touch with us, and we share all of our content for free in that server. But again, we have a space for people that are looking to take the next step in their careers. So we are a professional mentorship program. For these people, we run after the jobs and do the contacts and manage the recruitment with them. And we do one-on-one preparations, weekly review of your content, and not only on social media, but documents and things that are important for you. We have personal health and wellness support. So we have mentors that are professional psychologists, personal resource managers, personal image consultants, health. We have everything that you need to be successful as a developer, not only technically, but personally. So, for example, I heard from a lot of developers that they need time management support, like a secretary, and that's something we included in the program. So, for example, I have someone to help me manage traveling, talks, publications, due dates, and things like this. So it's far more than only your technical language and really how to be successful as a professional. And this high value program, we are starting in Europe. We are practicing €1,500 as a price. We are very transparent with the price and the destination that we do to those resources, to the mentors. The idea is that all that money goes directly and as much as possible to the mentors, right? And for the mentors, we have work meetings, we have regular meetups. We use the same process that we see in big companies. We can make qualified referrals for the people that we know and mentor with us. We have shared GitHub projects in several different areas. So if you'd like to mentor other people and join us as a mentor, we're totally open. We're building the platform that lets you schedule, pay, and manage this mentorship directly. Right now, we're using a mix of third-party tools to do this process. And again, this is the first day. Today was literally the start of the first mentorship group at Caravana Cloud. I'm very happy that we did this in the International Developer Career Day, and we would be very happy to continue this conversation with you in our mentorship groups. So, as a very special day for us, we have a gift for everybody that's with us today. We are doing free practice sessions. Those are one-on-one sessions, the exact same way we do with our mentorees, let's say. And you can schedule a one-on-one with us at caravana.cloud/chat or at caravana.cloud. If the timings are not good for you, please talk to us. We would be very glad to help you take the next step in your career. Right? And thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you, everybody that's been here with us today. It would be our pleasure to continue this conversation. Just send your questions in the chat, or join us on Twitter, on Discord, LinkedIn, and see you online. Thank you very much, Ronaldo. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great first International Dev Career Day.